Coastal Carolina going to Omaha to win this thing. It's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. All right, we have the voice of the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, Joe Catenacci, Joey Katz, Joey C. We are really thrilled to have him. We'll recap the Coastal season. We'll talk about how good the pitching staff is, and maybe not the wisest of all questions, but what is Coastal Carolina's chances in Omaha? And he is a very entertaining gentleman. So let's get right to it. He is the voice of the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. He is Joe Catenacci, and he is Locked On Sunbelt. Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. So privileged to have the voice of the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers on with us, Joe Catenacci. Joey Katz, as he is affectionately known. Privileged to have him on the show with us. Joe, congratulations. I'm going to jump ahead. Before we recap the season, was there a point in time when you realized that this team was as good as it is now? Was there a moment when you said, boy, we got a shot at being pretty good this year?
Well, I thought that was in early February when we hosted our annual Step Up to the Plate dinner, and Coach Schnall gave me the opportunity to introduce our players and our staff to our donors, to our fans, to Teal Nation, as we come out and celebrate not only the start of another college baseball season, but also help raise money for our local chapter for the Grand Strand Miracle League. And many people are familiar with Miracle Leagues all across the country. And ever since Gary Gilmore kind of set that up for us, we've continued that tradition for the kind of spring banquet, so to speak, not only to highlight what should be and will be an exciting season, and has been, especially here in 2025, but also to help raise money for a great cause in our community. And that's obviously something that I want for the last 25 years. And to be able to do that alongside this staff and this program, and having a insider look as to where we were. I mean, you got 6'8" Jacob Morrison, 6'6" Cameron Flukie, the silent assassin, Riley Eichhoff, with multiple returning pitchers on the back end from a bullpen standpoint. I mean, as best as anyone else. Pitching wins championships, and I thought this year, no doubt, that we would have a shot at taking the belt. Now, in terms of obviously running it all the way, question to me, Katz, you're not a believer. You're not a believer. And that's just because between, you and I know as a reporter and as someone that likes to call it objectively, and the way you try to see it, and which is what I try to do even during our games. I love our guys. I love our team. But you objectively try to call the game as the game season rolls on. I had exited from 1 year ago. So that played a big role, obviously, in not uncertainty, but just a question mark as to whether or not we'd be able to hit our way to a championship. And I guess that's the thing for years and years and years. It was always, we have to hit our way to get into postseason and beyond that. End of the day, this year it's been pitching from the beginning, and pitching has helped get us there. And now timely hitting and defense. That's a pretty good recipe for winning baseball. And every baseball person would agree with that, right? Pitching, timely hitting, and defense is going to get you a long way throughout the course of a season, and that's where we're at right now.
Yeah, but and that's a nice story and everything like that. But there's no way we could see as good as he looks in a suit and a baseball uniform that you could see Jacob Morrison going from redshirting to Sunbelt Pitcher of the Year. I mean,
well, he did not redshirt. He got injured. He had TJ surgery last year, and he pitched in the regional for us the year before.
Okay.
So You mix him in, beginning of the season, he was our Tuesday starter, pitched against North Carolina, threw a hell of a game against. In fact, sorry for the Tar Heels. I was looking forward to a potential Jacob Morrison Friday Omaha rematch because we put the Tar Heels, and I get it, midweek. You can make that argument if you're the ACC. I see we don't throw our guys. We don't have whatever it might be. We're here, they're not. I would have loved to see Jacob Morrison 5 months later, 3 months later, pitch against the North Carolina on the opening night of the College World Series. So, I mean, Mo had the talent in his freshman season. Obviously, uncertainty coming back after the TJ surgery. We also had a kid from Virginia, Cullen McKay, who went down in the middle of March with an season-ending injury from a pitching standpoint, who was actually our Friday guy. And then it was Lukey, Eichhoff, and then Morrison was thrown in the midweek. So the way it played out, we didn't plan for that, obviously, due to the injuries. I mean, but we're one or two guys short in terms of our pitching staff as to where, maybe we penciled ourselves in through the back end of the season. So, I mean, everything has sort of played out per the script. And that is something that rarely happens, if ever, in the game of baseball. There's no question about that.
Talking to Joe Catenacci, the voice of the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. So was it one of those Clemson baseball games? I didn't watch the first one. I saw the second one. Of course, that's when the video went viral and they couldn't really handle it in the bullpen. So was it one of those two ball games and there was a sweep of Clemson that gave you the confidence? Or, was there a moment that was there a comeback? Was there had to be a moment when you were like, you know what, this team's pretty good, other than, introducing the team to the public?
I don't know that we have lost but back-to-back games more than 2 times this season. So there's been no 3-game skids or any extended long periods of time where we have doubted ourselves. The last time we lost, obviously, was a sour taste in our mouth. That was, I want to say, April 22nd. We ran off 23 games since then. Well, we ran into a whole bunch of outs, and something that we work on a whole lot, maybe more than any other college baseball team in the country, is our base running. And that night, our base running, for whatever reason, was about as worst as you could draw up on a little league field at 8 years old. We ran into probably 6 or 7 outs in that ball game and lost 4-2. And one of the things that stuck with me as we felt a little down that night was the Charleston coach came over and at the end of the game, and we were kind of hanging our heads, still a little uncertain. We knew we had good pitching. We knew we had probably a favorable schedule to the back end of the Sun Belt with our good pitching to, run the table at least through the weekends. And that played out. And the coach said, "Hey, what are you guys hanging your heads about? You guys are about to make a run and host a regional." And that was from the Charleston coach. I think that's a sign of obviously respect from a regional non-conference rival that we've played a long time for and with. And obviously their coach won a couple of the Natties at South Carolina years ago, and he saw something in us, and I think most of our fans did too. Obviously, again, do we think we'd be right now maybe the hottest team in college baseball to get us to this point? Be able to go on the road like we did against Auburn and win some back and forth games. Coach calls me a non-believer because I'll sit here and say, don't know if I would have thought about that. Thought about winning the way we did. But as games progress and you see things shake out, and any given pitch, any given batter, any given inning, you're forced to believe, because we've got guys top to bottom of the lineup with strong defense, their ability to come through in big situations at the plate and through the pitching staff. I mean, that's what winning baseball looks like. We've been doing that for a long time.
Let's take a time out. When we come back, we'll talk and ask Joe Catenacci how good this Coastal Carolina Chanticleers pitching staff really is. We'll do that right after I tell you about FanDuel. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game before tip-off and live. With player props, performance trends, and same-game parlays, fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. I'm a little bit shocked at this. Coastal Carolina, and Joey C will talk about this, they have the third best odds to win. Arkansas plus 230, LSU plus 240, Coastal Carolina plus 600. Right now, Arizona is your long shot plus 1,100. We're still waiting for the outcome of Duke and Murray State while we record this, but plus 600 is still pretty good for Coastal Carolina. New to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. If it wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Let's continue our conversation with the voice of the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, Joe Catenacci. We talk about how good this Coastal Carolina pitching staff is, and can anybody else in the College World Series match up with them? Joe Catenacci on Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day, voice of the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. So thrilled to have him on here in a few minutes on what is a very busy week. All right, let's talk about how good this Coastal Carolina Chanticleers pitching staff is. I presume it's going to stay the same way because it really hasn't changed since the short week to end the regular season. It's gone Fluky, Morrison, Eichhoff. I don't know the exact schedule of what the College World Series is. There usually is off days in there, so we'll see what happens. But I presume Fluky will pitch on Friday, and then Morrison will go after that. And then we saw, Hayden Johnson pitch really well, 3 innings of shutout baseball, striking out 5. We saw Carbone and Lynch just, pitch a little bit. We haven't seen them pitch a whole heck of a lot. This pitching staff is right up there with everybody. I know LSU's got Cade Anderson, and he may go number 1. But as I said on previous episodes, this may be the deepest pitching staff that's heading to Omaha, Joey C. There's not a whole lot of teams that have more than the 2 guys, and Coastal Carolina's got 3.
See, I'm scratching my head. You're right. Not only 3 guys in the starting rotation, we've got 10, 11, 12 guys. You look up at a lineup, I would not be surprised if Hayden Johnson is a starting pitcher for us next year and might be our best guy in that weekend rotation. So we are built for an extended stay in Omaha. Does that play out? You never know. But there's no question that Fluky, Morrison, Eichhoff, 2023, we had a pretty good, or what was it? 2023, we went to ECU, for the Greenville region. We had a pretty good pitching staff. And Reed Van Scooter, who was the Sun Belt Pitcher of the Year, pitched for the and now with the Mariners organization. We had a guy, Nick Parker, who obviously put together one heck of a college career for us. He actually started at the College World Series against Virginia, in his final season of college baseball. And we had a guy, Michael Knorr, who's a transfer from Cal State Fullerton, who's pitching with the Astros organization. To that point, in 9 years of working for Coastal Baseball, that was the best pitching rotation that we have had. And we've got big league talent that has been a part of the weekend staff before then and now. And Anthony Veneziano comes to mind. He's a pitcher with the Miami Marlins, up with the Marlins right now. That was a guy in our rotation. So we've got guys that have proven themselves at the highest level. But in terms of the top to bottom, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then you mix in our freshman, Luke Jones, who's been our midweek guy pretty much throughout the course of the year. He's a guy who's been thrown in like a month. And I won't say that's a concern. The one concern would be because of our pitchers eating up so many innings, right, our better bullpen guys, our midweek guy, have not been able to get time on the mound over the last 2 weeks. So they're getting their work in their bullpens and doing what they need to do. But the next time they pitch is going to be in front of 40,000 fans. So that is going to be interesting to see how that plays out. With that being said, we've got the depth where our first year pitching coach, Matt Williams, who no doubt should be, atop the list in terms of an assistant coach of the year type award for all college baseball, second best team ERA in all the sport right now, using multiple guys, not just the rotation, but 4, 5, 6 guys out of the bullpen predominantly throughout the year. You got 6, 7, 8, 9 guys that have dominated the way we have I mean, that's worthy, no doubt, of an assistant coach of the year type of award and honor for Coach Williams, who actually I got to know back in the day when I was working with UNCW while he was there as their pitching coach then. So that said, I mean, so long as our dudes continue to do what those dudes have been doing all throughout the course of the year, we're going to have a chance to win a lot of baseball games.
Not so sure I'd be worried about Luke Jones. All he did was start the Sun Belt Championship game in front of a packed house full of Southern Miss fans. So he seemed to handle that one pretty well his last time out. We're talking to Joe Catenacci, the voice of the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, Locked On Sun Belt, your teams every day. I'm much more of a reason guy than excuses guy. Like a lot of people like to make excuses. This is a reason. The conditions were very different in Auburn. I happened to be in Charleston, South Carolina, when you guys were hosting the regional, and it was very pleasant. At least it was in Charleston. I know we had that rain that came through. But what was it like? Did you talk to the pitchers or to Kevin Schnall about the conditions? Because obviously it was hot and humid. And how did the pitchers handle that? Because I was kind of wondering, was Fluky expected to come back in that sixth inning when the weather hit?
Yeah, no doubt. Cameron Fluky was going to come out. His feet were on the top of the step of the first base dugout at 95 pitches, through 5 innings. They had all intentions of putting him back out there on the mound. And if you look up and down the starting rotation throughout the course of the year, there have not been many times that our guys have had to go over 100 pitches. So I think, that's exactly what Coach Matt Williams and the pitching staff and the coaching staff, had put together at the beginning of the year. Hey, if we can utilize our bullpen towards the back end with the strength being our starting rotation, come crunch time, regional, super regional, College World Series, of course you're going to push a guy, if he's still got the stuff to go over, 95 to 100 pitches. Having that said, with 5-6 guys in your back pocket, to be able to go to confidently in the bullpen, it makes the decision a little bit easier in terms of, obviously after the rain delay to go somewhere else. But no doubt, maybe it would have just been for one guy, see how it plays out. I don't particularly remember the matchups as to, where Fluky was going to go after that leadoff hitter. I think it was one of those situations. You allow him to pitch and see what happens, batter by batter at that juncture.
Well, he was getting more economical with his pitches. It was like a 32 pitch first inning. He was getting more economical with his pitches as the game went on.
Well, we allowed a couple of things, to happen defensively, which was uncharacteristic of us to force Cameron Fluky to go through those, extra pitches. I want to say we probably threw 18 extra pitches in that inning if Will Sykes, makes the play out there in center field. So there's so many different things that, obviously play into a course of a baseball game. But having said that, we definitely went through a portion there where we knew that in the back end that we had some guys and some dudes that were able to handle it, and obviously it played out that way. And to have only 2 or 3 different pitchers have to throw over 100 pitches in a baseball game throughout the course of an entire season is unheard of.
Talking to Joe Catenacci, the voice of the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. I do want to talk to you about the lineup because it does remind me a lot of the Raging Cajuns lineup of 2014. A lot of power, or power throughout, right? Without one guy hitting a bunch, can hit for average and can bunt. And then I made the statement because we saw, a possibility with Auburn not bunting their cleanup guy in the 9th inning with 2 on and nobody out. And then it came the possibility of, and I made the statement, Coastal Carolina will bunt at any point in time. And then, of course, Blake Barthol is up there, the guy who is up there to bunt, and will beat out a base hit for a bunt. And, of course, he's not bunting, making me look like a fool. But he does get the job done because he had a sac fly to center field, moving Alexander up to third base. But what is it about this lineup? Because it does feel that it is so well-balanced, lefty-righty, and anybody can hit in any situation.
Well, 2 guys that line up who have double-digit home runs, and that's it, and that's Alexander and Barthol. 2 guys who can obviously handle the bat, as you said, particularly with Barthol in the short game and the speed with Alexander. So 2 guys that can beat you in 2 different ways. And then, as you said, 1 through 9, from Bodine, who no doubt should be the Buster Posey award winner this year, based on, what that game looked like on Friday. The two big home runs. He was announced as a finalist the day prior. Hits 2 home runs, including the game winner, throws out multiple runners at second base. I think he stands up to the point where it's obvious that he is deserving of that and the time that he puts in addition to you roll through the midway part of the lineup and then down through the bottom third. Any given day, any guy can beat you. On Friday it was Bodine and Pato who hit 2 home runs. Pato, a guy who essentially was on the bench throughout most of the year. He's come up in big situations and has hit big home runs for us this year. Hit a home run in a rubber game in mid-March at East Carolina in the top of the 10th and a pinch hit at bat. Hit 2 grand slams throughout the course of the year, getting limited playing time. Dean Mijos goes down to injury. He takes over in right. Wells Sykes moves from right to center. Hits his stride, 2 home runs in the Super Regional Opener. Also homered against ECU in the Regional. Colby Thorndike at first base had 1 home run throughout the course of the entire season. Hits 3 home runs in the Conway Regional, including 2 in one game and a grand slam home run. Unbelievable. Walker Mitchell, he's been hit more times this season and has walked combined more times than he has struck out, and he's our 4 hitter. And he's all but maybe 6 foot and 190 pounds. Not your prototypical cleanup hitter, but when you get guys on first and second with nobody out, he's a guy that'll move the runners across. Blake Barthol at times throughout his college career has, throughout courses of the season, has hit has been streaking better than anyone in college baseball. And you can look at those numbers. I'm just making this stuff up. And then as you go further down the lineup, Thorndike obviously being one of those guys. Pato, Wells Sykes, has been a huge addition for us. Played center field at the Citadel, just a grind it kind of bulldog, ragtag kind of guy that has, played extremely well for us. So, Friday, Pato and Bodine hit 2 bombs, help lead us to the win. Saturday, Alexander and Mitchell have 3 hits apiece, and Mitchell drives in 2 huge runs, and Alexander kind of set the table for us in both of those run-scoring innings. So with 3 in the 7th, and then 1 there later on in the 8th. So 4 different guys in 2 different days step up for us at the plate. So you just never know, who's going to come through. Sometimes you get a little uneasy. 1-0 going to the 7th. But, when you grind at bats, you force teams to go to the bullpen. And I'm not going to compare us to like the 1996 Yankees, but being a Yankee fan, watching those teams back in the day, the Joe Torre Yankees grinding out at bats, 3-2 count after 3-2 count. Mitchell earlier in the ball game on Saturday with the bases loaded and 1 out, put together a 13 pitch at bat, popped up to the first baseman at the end of that bat. But he came through in his 2 at bats to end the weekend with RBIs and drove in runs. So, I mean, you never know. And that's what makes this team so exciting, because you get a sense something is going to happen. You just don't know when it's going to happen and who's going to do it.
Well, this is a great example, and I've been talking about it, and certainly no pun intended with his name, but, baseball is so much more flukier than the other sports, right? The game changes on a dribbler to the pitcher, and he can't make the play, or in this case, the first baseman can't make the play. Whereas Auburn on Friday night doesn't hit 1 ball on the screws, hits 2 balls on the screws, and hits into 2 double plays. So, you can do it all right, and it doesn't go your way, or you can do it not great, and it can go your way. So that's why baseball is such a great sport compared to the other ones. Hockey is a little fluky, too, because you can get those crazy rebounds and ricochets off the sticks. Let's take one more time out. We'll come back. We'll wrap up our conversation with the voice of the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, Joe Catenacci, and maybe ask what is a foolish question, but we'll ask it anyways. What does he think their chances are? We did get an interesting answer. I will say that. We'll do that after I thank you. Yesterday's short, talking about Coastal's pitching advantage over Arizona. It started out as 2,200. It recalibrated down to, only 1,500 views. You guys are the best. We are already on a record-setting month. The audio downloads too. Please continue to do that. Apple Podcasts, Spotify. It is a huge, huge help. We are growing by leaps and bounds. Over 150 subscribers in the last month and a half. A lot of that Southern Miss. I appreciate you guys as well. So thank you very much. It is continuing to go. It would be nice if Coastal Carolina wanted to, play for a national championship, last for a good 10 days there in Omaha. As you guys know, it's all about me. So wishing Coastal Carolina all of the best. We're hoping to get a little garment for the head by the end of the week. We'll see if it comes through by then. But again, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Leave comments. It is me answering all of your comments. I do appreciate all of that. That is the best way to get the podcast to grow. Thank you so much. We'll wrap it up with Joey C right after this. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Let's wrap up our conversation with the voice of the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, Joe Catenacci. And we ask him, what are the chances for Coastal Carolina to win this thing? He does come back with an interesting answer compared to what was expected in 2016 compared to 2025. All right, let's wrap things up. A few more minutes here with Joe Catenacci, the voice of the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers. I'm liking this bracket, Joey C. They get Arizona, which is in a classic rematch from 2016, so that's a lot of fun. And then you get Oregon State and Louisville on the top side of the bracket. I just like the side of this bracket. You got Arkansas and LSU on the other side, and then I mean, I know he said, Coastal Carolina is not a Cinderella, and they're not, because they have the most wins in the nation and the longest winning streak. But Murray State could take that whole Cinderella thing away, because if they get to it, that's going to be awesome. And so I love the way the bracket is setting up for them. I do think they have a legitimate shot at winning this, and it would not be a surprise.
Wonder why. There's a reason why the odds makers have us as the number 3 best team to potentially win it this upcoming week and a half from now. Just to kind of highlight the differences in these sports. You look at the big 3: football, basketball, baseball. I mean, football, who you're going to get each year. The blue bloods of college football. Basketball, and a Cinderella story may make the run every once in a while. Baseball, at any given time. Last year, it's all SEC all the time. How do we not have this, that, and the other? Well, there's a lot of money on that field, throughout the course of the SEC. And you know what? There are only a couple of SEC teams left, and one's going to eliminate each other from the College World Series the way the bracket shakes out. So, money isn't everything in this sport. As you said, one bounce one way or the other. That's my daughter getting in the way. She wants to hang out. She hasn't seen Dad in about 3 months. But with that said, say hi to Schultz.
Hey.
So, I mean, the whole big thing here is every team is deserving at this point to be where they're at, and it's not to take anything away from Oregon State, who maybe along with us over the mid 2010s. I don't even know the way you describe them. I mean, they're right with us, right? Every other year, and at one time it was Oregon State, Coastal, and then I think Florida won. So anything could happen. If Murray State makes a move today, I would not be surprised, and I would love to be the only team from the Carolinas, of course, to be in Omaha this year outside of Duke. Duke hasn't been there in quite some time, obviously. They've been an incredible program over the last number of years. They came to our place a few seasons ago and knocked us out of a Monday winner-take-all regional, so deserving, no doubt. But I just love the way the whole College World Series is shaken out in and of itself. All right, you got the blue bloods, you got the power, you've got the SEC might. But there are a bunch of other deserving clubs that got a chance to win. So I do obviously like the way it shakes out, but it doesn't matter at this point. And coaches said it all season long. Doesn't matter who's in the other dugout. All that matters is who is in our clubhouse. And if our clubhouse takes care of their individual role and responsibility in this team, I'll put us up against anyone. Shots versus everybody, and that's kind of the mindset we've had. And you sprinkle in the fact that we felt like we maybe got a little shortchanged based on the totality of the season to get a 13 seed. I think we're playing a little hungrier than we might have if we were an 8 seed and hosted a super regional. But when you got that pitching and when you got the ability to hit the ball the way we have throughout the course of the year, we got chances to win baseball games. So as long as we do what the Chants do, I like where we're going to be at maybe beyond this upcoming weekend.
Well, it's one thing not to get the 8 seed, another thing to get the 13 seed. Could have been the 9 or 10 seed. So there's a little bit of disrespect there. And I, like you said, I'm also a big believer that, once you get to the Sweet 16, outside of a couple of teams, we've all had really good years. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you I've seen a whole lot of Arizona. I really haven't. But when you get to the College World Series, you're one of two things. You're either really good, really hot, or both. And Arizona, I think, is both. So the task will be formidable. But I'll take Cam Fluke up against anybody right now. I presume that's who's pitching. All right, we gotta let her go. We gotta let her get dad. Joey C is being called. We gotta relent. We gotta let her have her father. Joey Catenacci, the voice of Coastal Carolina. Thank you so much. Safe travels to Omaha. Really appreciate you hopping on Locked On Sunbelt. Chance up.
No one is hotter than the Shants, by the way, Schulte. 23 wins in a row. I mean, we're playing with, obviously in 2016, we go to the College World Series just quickly. We're happy to be there, and then we make the magical run. We're going here to win this thing, and that may be a different sort of mindset than what we had back in 2016. I truly feel that Coach Schnall will have our guys ready to play, and I feel like our guys are locked in, enjoying themselves, playing for each other. We run by three things in our program. It's selfless, or relentless, selfless, and obviously we own it. And we have done all those three things to the max right now to get us to this position. No one's more deserving than Coastal Carolina right now to be where they are as the final 8 teams left in 2025 in the college baseball season.
Best of luck, Joey C. Thanks so much for hopping on.
Hey, Schulte, enjoy your work, my friend, and thanks for all what you do to cover the Sun Belt Conference, and look forward to doing it again.